Thank you, desk. Excellent chat. Like our predictions showed on the desk, it is absolutely anybody's game, and it's anybody's spot in our bracket play. How are you feeling about this one, Rose?
You know what? I'm going to go ahead and say Washington Justice just to tie it up 2-2 for predictions to make you the tiebreaker, like day. Right back at you.
Oh, no. I've been Uno reversed.
Oh, hell yeah.
Well, let me just tell you, I'm real high on Alpha Yi right now. This man managed to bring it to a Twilight Izayaki double flex support backline. Both of those equally able to duel a Tracer, and Alpha Yi just ran through them like a hot knife through butter. So I might be having some recency bias, but Washington Justice are looking real good with Alpha Yi on the Tracer. As we head to Antarctic Peninsula, we'll be starting off on the sub-level, and there are multiple different approaches to this. Necra, some people like the dive, some people like the ram rush.
Yeah, I mean, the ram rush is what the Gladiators are going to be locking into right now, but both teams using those symmetric teleporters in order to get out of spawn just a little bit faster. But as the Washington Justice sticking to this Winston dive, really trying to take control of the high ground right now, as Dante actually gets quite low here on the Ramatra.
Yeah, Dante gets antied real early there. A great setup from Teru. And here, we're going to see our Lucio's jostling to see who can get the better position. It's mostly about trying to set up the Hanzo in a good off-angle position at the moment to try and find some inroads, but good safety thus far for Babel. And Dante will run out of Nemesis form, and once again, we'll see our teams reconstruct their formations around the point as it does unlock. This is a very deep dive here from Bembest, but the support should be there. And Kai is going to be the first to fall. Great assist, as you can see the Sonic coming through from a Hanzo as well as the boots as well. And now it's Alpha Yi on the side to us to get rid of, or rather Funny Astro us to get rid of Alpha Yi. It's a messy fight, yes. Gladiators have walked away with the first control, but it seems like in the end, Washington Justice are going to have the advantage.
Yeah, I mean, Washington Justice, they're able to play around one of Best's best tanks in that Winston, and it's very clear that they have a nice understanding of how to utilize this high ground and also how to juggle their cooldowns to be able to make sure that they can initiate those dives. I think one of the key targets here for the Gladiators is really going to be Babel, and now we see Dante actually switch off of the Ramatra. That's really what my worry was about. Ramatra requires a lot of healing investment in order to actually keep up, but at this point too, I mean, Washington Justice are just outpacing them here with the Nano.
That's going to be Bembest with the Nano. Oh, pops the Primal Rage as well. Plenty of damage to be done, but it feels like Babel are going to be able to survive a touch longer, eventually beaten down, and able to actually get LOS and all to give over that Nano before they fall. In the midst of all of this, so the Chaos has allowed Gladiators to flip the point over, and now they can try and play this a little bit slower as Washington Justice will get that pressure on the point. Coming in, Funny Astro, only a two-person sound barrier. Maybe not the most efficient from Daniel Hathaway as Alpha Yi tears through all of those who were afflicted. Yes, they had a billion hit points, but not for very long.
No, and this time around, it's going to be Washington Justice on the flip side of things that's going to have those billion hit points activated in just a moment's time, especially as that's such a nice response to the nano boosting Winston that we might end up seeing here from the Gladiators. Babel actually hold on to that ultimate through that last fight because Dante just wasn't really in the perfect position to use it, but now use the nano and then get the primal up.
Babel tells Dante to go, but Flora says to stay away. Too much damage taken, and that's really messed with Dante tempo overall. It has pushed many members of Washington Justice back into this more reserved position. It's not quite as aggressive, but it is a touch more safe. Alpha Yi still pumping damage into Dante, who desperately needs to get a hold of this Primal Rage. Flora first to fall due to the speed boost assist, but brings Kai into that mid-range fight he desperately wants on the Cassidy. A Tracer duel for the point, yes, as Washington Justice have kept it in their control, and Dante's managed to isolate Teru. Even more so damage being done. It's an assist onto Alpha Yi, but Kevster finally finishes with a punch to the back of the Bonds. Los Angeles Gladiators will walk away with control.
Yeah, it's a lot of progress, though, for Washington Justice. It should be one more team fight, though, here for the Gladiators to be able to tie it up. But, like Day, they don't have a lot in the tank right now. We're looking at yet another nano boost rotation here from the Washington Justice, as Bembest is going to get that right away for the dive.
Oh, set nade there onto Kai. You can see the Ana assist in the kill feed. benbest only needs a touch more. Racking of the nerves to get this primal rage. Wants to take out that sleep dart first, but still Babel can't save themselves. It's a juggle through the air, and Flora's there to catch 4. Go long, my son. And Flora definitely does so. 88%, checking up to 90. Washington Justice in a commanding position.
Yeah, Flora just didn't get enough respect last season. Let's just put it that way, Leg Day. I feel like really showing up in a big way. Feel like contend with some of the best DPS right now. Can he keep it up, though? It's overtime here.
Getting rid of this pressure on high ground is going to be imperative for Los Angeles Gladiators, but they also need to consistently keep their feet, their paws, whatever hands they have on this point. Funny Astro lays down the beat, but Dante can't get it. It might well have been blocked off there by benbest's shield. It would be a master stroke if so from a tank Francais. Kai trying his best to take everyone away from this point, but no, now it's time for benbest to tag in. Fresh resources, but torn apart by a pulse bomb. Only flesh and sinew remain where a gorilla once stood as Kevster gets the execution. And now Los Angeles Gladiators can be a little bit laissez-faire with their positioning. They don't need to keep this contested, but they do need to keep an eye on Flora's position.
Oh, they definitely do. I mean, with that Dragon Strike at the ready, Flora is going to be able to let that fly and cut off all of the healing potential here from the Gladiators. Really want to try to lock down those sight lines of Babel and Kai to make sure that they don't have sights on the rest of the team. Flora?
Oh, Flora can't survive long when Kevster's over there. Dante just about gets the primal rage. That was bloody close. In the end, though, it will be survival. Los Angeles Gladiators now in a commanding position to win this round if only they can get rid of all of these remaining members of Washington Justice. Flora sends in a long-range Dragon Strike. It might be a surprise when it arrives, but at the moment, Washington Justice just need to worry about personnel getting their feet on this point. It's a right-click from Kai. Optimal burst damage from the optimal hit scan, and Kevster's just cleaning up in the back line. He's for sweeper moving through and sweeps through the Justice.
Okay, it took a little bit of a while there for Gladiators to get online and going, but in the end, Leg Day, they did catch up in that ultimate rotation for the nano boost. Dante getting the primal rages online really did get back in sync as they were able to take about 3 or 4 team fights, but Washington Justice made that very competitive and made it really tough for Gladiators to get in there with that Ramatra early on.
Yeah, the Ramatra, I think, was counterplanned quite well there by Washington Justice. They continually added these anti-nades to Dante, like you said before, Rose. There's such a healing demand that the Ramatra brings, and you continue to exacerbate that when you can hit those antis on a character when he doesn't have a shield, has very little chance of having those miss. benbest rolling out Nova Reinhardt, one of the rare Reinhardt players we have in the league in a RAM world.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the Reinhardt versus the Ramatra Leg Day, we were talking about it a little bit on socials. What's going to be the tank to win it all? And at this point, I feel like you really need to have a specialist on the Reinhardt, and benbest certainly brings that to the table. That's quick picks here for Washington Justice.
Bloody hell, the focus fire. Where was Babel this entire time? 19% ult charge? Did this man bother to leave spawn? Dante was easily isolated. I think there may well have been a cut from Washington Justice that pushed Babel and Funny Astro back and maybe had Dante just flip over to a point instead. Now with this defensive posture, the Mei of Alpha Yi is going to be in a position to command this next fight.
For sure. I mean, the Mei wall could really isolate somebody here as Gladiators start to move in right now.
I think that benbest is also doing his best to troll the healing onto Dante here, using the shield. An early ice block is used, and damn, that ice wall looks delicious. Ice walls are grape-flavored, as Ramatra might say, in our new patch. As Flora manages to find some damage done, benbest saved by both the Immortality Field and the wall in Conflux. Now, it could be the window that changes everything. Yes, it's aligned with the wall, and no one's actually going to be moving to use it. Teru, good presence of mind there. Abandon the ultimate, save the tank. That's all you really need in the end. benbest is the linchpin here for Washington Justice, but it might well be a frozen pin. Good evasion there on the Blizzard, but it isolates the rest of the team. Kai hits a double dink, and that should be it for the Washington Justice.
Really nice territorial control here by the Gladiators. Originally, when you ended up seeing the window pop down there by Teru, Amplification Matrix just unfortunately wasn't going to be able to go through there, but oh no, no, Leg Day, no! No, he got punched out of the sound barrier.
Well, that's one very ignominious way to lose a sound barrier. Sometimes you're just a little bit too close to that Ramatra, but Dragon Strike's going to isolate Benbest into the Ravenous Vortex. Yes, but Teru stands at his back. Plenty of healing globules will be soaking the feet of Benbest. Dante about to run out of Nemesis form and actually runs through the Dragon Strike here, which is not the best. An attempt to try and boop off the other Lucio, and FD God is going to be able to grab that one. Grabs the Lucio by the reins and says, I am the Alpha Frog, as Washington Justice flip the point.
That's just FD God's way of saying, I may have Ajaxed, but I am also really still good at this character, so that's how that works. Babel, what are you doing here? Babel, oh my god, they're trolling right now. Washington Justice has just absolutely staggered Babel here, and while Kai is gonna get the flip there onto Flora, it doesn't really matter. You still have to wait for Babel to respawn. FD God is even gonna go back and taxi Florida to get back into the fight just a little bit faster. What was that?
A beautiful shot is what it was, Babel. A little bit of trauma that could be relived through later. Nice ball here. It's actually going to guarantee the point flip in favor of the Gladiators. This is super important as it means a big slam can come through from Benbest. Nothing more could stand in the way. That point flip, though, does mean that Washington Justice can potentially manage to move on through here and stop Gladiators from cobbling together a defense. This well could be point number 3 guaranteed. Funny Astro actually used the beat somehow to get onto a point. Well, it certainly wasn't an Ajax, but it certainly also is not efficient. And that should be the flip here and the full completion for Washington Justice.
Okay, that looked way cleaner here for Washington Justice this time around. I feel like the Reinhardt gonna be winning out in this particular matchup, leg day over the Ramatra. But I still like the approach that both of these teams were taking when you do have these two different styles of rush. It really is about making sure that you have territorial control, and there were some great rotations coming out there from the Justice just to make sure that they had the best sight lines possible. Really kind of wrangled Gladiators into the areas that they would like to mow them down.
To head over now onto the labs, there's going to be some contest between these teams for control of the high ground, but Dante with a superior poke of Ramatra should be able to remove Benbest from those areas rather easily and set up Kai to have a commanding overview of the point. Question is, how does Flora try and run the cycles of the railgun to do maximum damage and find those killing blows?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, there's a lot of pillars to play around here on this particular round here of Antarctic Peninsula. So I think that Flora has a lot of really great ways to try to charge up that railgun shot and then weave in an opportunity to just get a quick snipe. Little bit of an isolation here as Dante's going to go in pretty deep.
Dante cut off there by the disruptor field, but target's been acquired by Kevs. They're quickly swapping over now onto Flora. The slide is used, and that might make them a more diveable target in the future, but no one can really get up onto high ground. Benbest avoids the incoming Suzu, but the heals are just as good. Alpha E finds a way into the backpack of Dante and blasts him apart from the inside. And this should be Washington Justice with some excellent baiting onto Dante, I might add, claiming the first cap.
Yeah, nice capture there from the Washington Justice, and now they're going to start to look towards some of those ultimates coming online, like the Pulse Bomb, which is already ready to go here for Alpha E. Waiting for the opportunity, maybe just to pepper in that last little bit of ultimate charge and then find the perfect opportunity. It's Babel's number all day, every day. Misses the stick, though.
Barbell runs away, though, into the disruptor field. That's still more damage than perhaps can be dealt with. It means Funny Astro has to stay here with the Ana the entire time. Still, we don't need Funny Astro over here. Kai and Dante have got this, no worries, my guy. Los Angeles Gladiators managed to quite quickly isolate the Washington Justice. Perhaps they moved forward out of safe positions to try and deal with Alfie's pressure on Barbell.
Yeah, I think that was a really well played backline from the Gladiators, where like Alpha E was definitely a big DPS threat, but the fact that the stick missed, Babel was able to stay alive. Now the nano boost is going to be online. A lot for the Gladiators to work with going into this next fight.
Gotta do be gaming. FD God's not. Still, an attempt to try and play through this fight by the Washington Justice using the Kitsune Rush. Still, I don't care how many foxes you have in your back garden, you're no match for me punching you to death. Dante, give him the nano, and those fists of fury were absolutely fabulous.
It's really, really good stuff here. I mean, Dante gets to hold on to the Annihilation as well. Really not a whole lot invested there from the side of the Los Angeles Gladiators. Bobbell used the Nano, but now there's still 4 ultimates to be able to rotate through here. I'm expecting a lot of ultimates on the table here leg day, especially if we do see the fight extend long enough.
Time to limber up. This one might be fast. Kai. Nice angle here, potentially for a Deadeye, but needs to get out that Winston shield first. Indeed, it's already been used now by Benbest. This is a huge opening for Kai. The overhealth is good. Flora dares to peek this, but it's actually cancelled by Kai, realizing how low it's getting, and Kai's timing on the roll is not good enough to save him from the auspices of the Pulse Bomb. The Annihilation controlled now by Benbest, and Dante simply too low to survive. Benbest with the perfect landing busts apart the Omnic leader. Washington Justice are back in control.
Yeah, both banks are emptied now as well. All of the ultimates are off the table. And now we have to look at this next fight being super economical, as Benbest is going to start to get poised here. You can see the high ground control that Washington Justice are trying to take away just to be able to beat the Gladiators to the punch. But look at the sneaky play here from Benbest. He's going underneath the platform to surprise the Gladiators as they start to move in.
Perhaps waiting for Alfie to call the dive, and indeed he is. Coming up from underneath, but Funny Astro still slips through the reins, recalling into the Ravenous Vortex, not ideal. And now Alfie has so much to carry, with Flora being down. Still, Gladiators in the background have managed to flip over the point through all of this. They can't quite connect onto Teru, but it's Kevster who finds the finish. It's a madcap fight with no one here to heal. Washington Justice is sent scrambling for the Arctic Hills once more.
They gotta back up here because we're entering into last fight territory as Gladiators are able to get the flip right underneath Washington Justice's noses. And it's gonna come down to who's gonna be able to get more value out of their ultimates first. We got a couple coming online here, but can Washington Justice sustain through the pressure of the Gladiators?
Justice's comp isn't ideal to fight on the point. It might be Alfie who has to sit down here this entire time, and that's why Kevster's focusing in on this. A beautiful stick onto Benbest. For Nano given over just in time. Kevster time for MVP candidate round 2, but unfortunately, everyone's dead before he can find them. Los Angeles Gladiators, they were waiting for an overtime fight on the point using that Ramatra, and they bloody well got one.
Oh, they did indeed. What a phenomenal set there coming out from both of these teams. Like, that was really close. Washington Justice getting a chance to win that second round on Antarctic Peninsula, but of course the Gladiators able to clutch up when it mattered most. Love to see that coming out from both of these teams, especially when there's so much on the line here to see who's going to be able to make it forward into the finals from this group.
It is everything to win this matchup. Whoever wins this is going through to our bracket stage to win a big piece of the pie of our huge dollar prize pool. And, well, Washington Justice, now they can at least avoid going to Blizzard World, where Gladiators would like to play their double flex, and we'll give them a little moment to try and figure out what map would be best suited for them during this break.
That is the delay tactics widely dealt in a 4v5. Oh, not quite so much anymore. Kevster dishing out the damage.
This is giving me vibes of Florida against the Atlanta Rain. What? That is dirty. A rough return here, just kind of getting bullied. That is it.
Wave hello, maybe goodbye to the rest of your team, Decay, because Lastro's on the field. Nano's in just to keep him alive. Rolling, trying to keep him alive. And Hydron, oh boy, punched into oncoming traffic. Dante shuts him down.
young, I'm fly and I'm flashy. It's the reason why the people always ask me, where you get that? Where you cop those? I've been fresh to death since a snot nose. Kid on the block with the illest sneakers. The girls all flock like they missile seekers. The party don't stop, got different features, exclusives, different colors, you can't get them either. I came here to stunt, that's what I go for. I don't buy a pair, I buy the whole store. A price tag's just a number to me, so I never miss a shot that I want and I see. Swish.
Justice may have been to the Paris Gucci to cop Ben Best and FD God, but Gladiators have been copping their own impressive roster. And, well, I said we're going to try and avoid Blizzard World to avoid the double flex support. Unfortunately, you can't do that. Babel and Lastro are still going to be moving on in here for the double flex support that really makes Los Angeles Gladiators bloody scary on these hybrid maps.
Yeah, I mean, just the straightaways that are offered here. You can run a combination of the Zenyatta, Kiriko, Batiste. It just is really oppressive when you take a look at how well this backline is able to perform together. And we're also going to see Gladiators actually choose to go for the defense first. So, like they may be trying to shut this match down early and quick.
Yeah, the defense here of King's Row is going to be particularly important for Gladiators because it's going to be all about the positioning of Babel and Lastro. And if I ever say Babel, it is incorrect, guys. It's just like Day Brain being bad. I promise you. Emphasis on the bell, is the nativized Korean Danny has assured me. All right, let's roll on in here. We've got ourselves Watcher Justice on the attack first. And the question is, how are they going to clear out Lastro and Babel?
Looks like it is going to be the Kiriko and the Ana as well. So a lot of staying power for this backline, and the mobility of the Kiriko performs super well on this point. Just knowing that you have the opportunity to teleport to anybody that's on your team, and you can just really find these crazy off angles when it comes down to the shuriken damage that we're going to see that Kiriko output here. So when it comes to the Justice's attack and trying to work around this, I feel like the dive is going to be one of the best answers, especially because Dante's kind of taunting them right now. It's like, hey, I'm on Winston, like, let's go. You want to go? Let's go.
It's a brave path to take. Alpha Yi on the Tracer. Any of you who watched yesterday know that Alpha Yi's Tracer is legendary when it comes to bullying backlines. Up against Izayaki and Twilight, Alpha Yi managed to do plenty. An attempt here to isolate Babel, but Kevster strikes early here, taking out Flora.
Yeah, big pick there. So now Washington Justice are going to have to reset until that Hanzo comes back online. And all the while, I mean, look at all the poke damage that Gladiators are able to do here with this setup. So many angles are getting locked down. I mean, look where Kevster is trying to aim the Hanzo. You also have the shurikens coming out from Babel. So really great stuff here for Gladiators as they start to make a rotation too. Justice moving towards the point.
Gladiators have been herded together, though, from Alpha Yi. This might make things a little bit more difficult. Alpha Yi's actually lost a lot of health, but Dante actually goes a little bit further. And look at that shield that was up there from Benbest. That's what stopped Dante from getting heals. The Ana was trapped within a well-timed distraction, but Kevster's got the timing of the Ancient Elves within him. He's going full Legolas mode right now. Yes, FD God will beat him to death in the end, but the damage has already been done to the Justice push.
I mean, yeah. What? Kevster got a triple there? Like, absolutely unreal. Even though Dante ended up going down there because of that healing getting blocked off, you still had Kevster able to take the super aggressive positioning, knowing that he was going to get the full support of Babel and Lastro in those moments. So already going to earn the Dragon Strike here, and the Pulse Bomb coming out from Yaki now.
That saves Benbest from a well-placed Pulse Bomb from Yaki, but it does nothing to save Flora from the attentions of Dante. Babel quickly moves away and still wants the Kitsune Rush to play with if necessary. Remember, Flora's going to be able to respawn real soon. Lastro hasn't been able to hit the cooldowns, which means that he'll eventually be run on over. Now it's down to Babel to be able to keep this one healed up. Dante, though, creating space, creating room, creating a little bit of breathing for the Gladiators to respirate on the point, and the respiration goes well as Yaki metabolizes Alpha Yi. Kevster finally falls, courtesy of Flora. Burn through that shield. A re-engage potentially enabled by the Kitsune Rush. This is going to be a little bit of a Winston duel. Remember, that shield doesn't do nothing for the Winston in the Winston versus Winston. That's a lot of times to say Winston, but Flora loves saying that name at the end of his bow and arrow. Up high, Yaki, an absolute terror. An attempt to cut him off, but Flora can't see through the trees. We're up in the trees, and I can't see nothing here. Flora still needs to try and hit this shot, but unfortunately it's not forthcoming. 2-6 already given over here, Necra, and now things are starting to go the way of the Justice.
It looks like the Justice are finally going to get the better of the Gladiators after such a slog leg day. We saw basically every single ultimate hit the board. I think we saw I almost said 12, and I'm back in Overwatch 1 days. But yeah, we saw like 10 ults there. Absolutely wild. Flora's already going to be working back up to another Dragon Strike. The aggression coming out from the Justice. They are putting the Gladiators back in spawn right now as they wait for Flora and Alfie to try to get the heck out of dodge. They're getting pincered though. Look at this movement coming through from Babel and Dante. Just to be able to lock them down, but Justice are still making tremendous progress.
Yeah, Babel on these off angles alongside Yaki is going to be one of the main things that needs to be cleared out by Washington Justice, but ideally without investing something like your Winston lead, because you want to follow up after that initially comes through to take out a more defenseless Kiriko.
For sure. I mean, look at this too, like as that Best is trying to get back into a position to do just that. Nano Boost is gifted over.
Well, there's for Cassidy now out into the backline, still unable to really hit. That was some excellent body blocking from Ben Best, and it keeps everyone safe behind him. All those squishy people, how weak and pathetic they are that bullets might bring them down. The Gorilla has no such weakness. And neither do the rest of the Washington Justice as the kunai are laid aside and Barbell's laid to rest. Dante can recontest this with the Primal though.
I realized I said shurikens earlier, and I was like, that's the wrong weapon. So, yeah,
You've lost your weave card.
I need that taken away from me. I actually just lost it there. Yeah, Kiriko throws kunai, not shurikens. That's Genji that I'm thinking of, so we're gonna just ignore that one really fast and go over to the Primal Rage that Dante could throw down here as Ben Best is locking him in a corner and taking him pretty low.
Yeah, blocks off the healing. That forces the Primal Rage. Dante's going super deep with this one. Already down to half health. Not going to make the risky play for the health back. Instead, trusting in the healers. And knows that will give Lastro over some extra charge towards the Nano. The Kitsune Rush could be used to force the fight on the cart. A beautiful anti goes in towards the back. That racks the nerves of a Washington Justice, but FD God is quick to answer. Only 3 players hit by the sound barrier. It means they can't move forward as aggressively as they want to, but they get just enough to remove Lastro and Dante and Balbel as well. Why not? Just take everyone down. Flora in his prime position, ready to carve through any who would present themselves. And that's the second point secured for Washington Justice.
I mean, FD God may not have landed the fattest sound barrier in the world, but Teru with the anti-nade onto 3 members of the Los Angeles Gladiators surely helped to shore up that attack. And so you will see Washington Justice capture that second point. Flora is still going on a tear there, taking Kester out in the back line, and Dante's falling too. Leg day, is it just all over here? Can Washington Justice cap?
Flora telling Yaki, you were wrong to leave me, brother. I was always the stronger of us. Of course, both these DPS were looted from the corpse of what used to be known as the New York Excelsior. Alfie, excellent Sonic Arrow here, going to be able to hit a fat stick onto Kevster. The roll was simply too early. Damage reduction not good enough, and that means less damage for the Gladiators in what may be a penultimate fight. Good dodge still as Flora, Yaki, brother, sit down and get done on here. I don't care how purple you are, you're going to be blue with envy for where I've ended up. Ben Best moving in. Sleep going to put that power nap getting started. Lastro, though, will be the one to move up onto the cart. Kevster finding plenty of purchase before Flora lays them down again. Dante's Primal Mechanics, something to be envied. Unfortunately for Justice, they simply don't have the steam to work up against these respawns.
No, I mean, Dante picked the perfect target to dive in on with that Primal Rage, keeping Teru occupied so that healing couldn't be administered to Ben Best that was still holding down the front line of Washington Justice's attack. So the payload's going to start to move back a little bit. We're entering into sub 1 minute territory, so if Justice are fast enough, maybe this ends up being a 2-push potential here. FD God is waiting to get that sound barrier online. That could help to stave off some of this damage, but Yaki with the pulse bomb here, I mean, Babel, Lastro, both kind of vulnerable at this point in time.
Oh, Dante trying his best to grip onto that high ground, but against 4 players is simply too much. Yaki looking for a place to put this pulse bomb, but where would it be most effective? FD God doesn't get Teru with... oh, that's a beautiful stick there onto Flora. Gets rid of one of the biggest threats. Brother, I strike back at the Hell's Heart has stabbed. And indeed, it was a brutal stab. I know I'm from Swindon.
Would you now, like Day? Would you now?
You do not want to know what goes down on the mean streets of Mansgaff.
Not really, but I do want to know what's going to happen here in the final moments of King's Row. We've got the Dragon Strike on the point. Overtime has been activated. Benfest gets the nano, but can he do enough in the backline here to sink this payload over the line?
That waking up, a massive blunder, gives Benbest a lot more uptime on this nano. Still, the duel against the Hanzo is too much to bear. And the Bell, in the midst of this, managed to weave in an extra headshot. Flora needs to clutch on up here in the 2 versus 2 to try and keep this alive. I think there's plenty of healing behind them, though. Teru's still alive and kicking, sending out those biotic hits whenever they are needed. Flora moving between targets. The focus needs to be strong. They need to remove the Winston now, who's planted his gorilla butt down on the car. A Suzu used. Benbest returns. The tech is good, but the hit is not. And now moving into close range, using that shotgun to tear through this. Everyone needs to stay on the car if you happen to be working for the Los Angeles Gladiators, as Yaki's looking for a clutch here. A well-placed pulse bomb could put this to bed. You want to get rid of Teru, but Flora's the target chosen. Alas, no connection given, and the car is moving ever closer and ever closer, inexorably to the goal. The EMP will blow on up and slaughter the Omnics down below. Can Los Angeles Gladiators save them? The answer is of course not. The Bastion's not fast enough to save his brethren, and the EMP explodes with Washington Justice completing their attack.
Big attack push here from the Justice. They clutch it at the very end there to be able to capture that 3rd point, and it was looking pretty dire there when we were looking at that attack from the beginning of point 3 all the way to the end. Took them a couple of attempts, but they were still able to get to that finish line. But this is where I feel like I'm interested to see how the Gladiators adapt. Like, I feel like Washington Justice maybe pulled out a couple of stops there that the Gladiators weren't quite expecting. Some of the offensive pressure there coming out from Alpha Yi and Flora really threw Gladiators for a loop.
Yeah, that offensive pressure absolutely made Gladiators, who were used to not having to struggle as much in these mechanical duels, maybe. A little bit of pressure, a little bit of strain upon the comms. Remember that this is by no means the final form of the Los Angeles Gladiators. A very freshly constructed team. Still plenty of time for that synergy to improve, for the comm structure to become more and more streamlined and efficient. And to be fair, you can say the same thing about Washington Justice as well. This is a completely new team, and both of these guys have been they've been improving quite substantially throughout the early Pro-Am. In fact, Washington Justice looks so much better on day 4 of the Pro-Am compared to day 1, when they looked like, I'm going to say, a mediocre team. However, since then, it's been big.
Yeah, it has been huge, and I think that like what a lot of these Overwatch League teams are doing, you even heard it coming through from the interview with Fearless, is that they're trying to utilize the Pro-Am not only to be able to establish more synergy with each other, but also to try out some new things. We're still not seeing the full form, the top potential of either of these teams so far, but they are still giving us such a good show and some fantastic fights as we now see Gladiators start to encroach upon this first point. Flora's asleep. Can't really get the follow-up there, as Kevster's not going to be able to hit through the Mandata statue, and eventually gets pressured down from that high ground from some off angles coming in from the Justice.
Mansman flat-pack Freddy made his hitbox too small for Kevster to hit. Still, Gladiators pressure upon the point coming through. That forces Benbest to actually use multiple resources to stay on that point. And Dante will survive even while Anti getting the attention of both the healers here. Does maybe open Yaki to a touch more pressure, who's almost got himself a pulse bomb already. It's been a lot of damage coming out of Yaki thus far, but Flora's removed the threat that Kevster was allowing. Teru goes super low, and Benbest getting Anti there is absolutely critical. They might have to re-enter here with the nano itself just to give over that emergency healing, but I love the Iron Will for Justice, deciding that we've got this, boys. There's no need to invest more.
Yeah, they did a phenomenal job there. I mean, a lot of trust going into the counterparts on the team to make sure that they are able to keep this defense alive. Los Angeles Gladiators only walk away with 1/3 of the point here. So a little bit of time whittled away on the time bank, and also some ultimates to spare now, as Justice's defense did go well. Nano boost now over to Benbest to try to work up to this primal.
Primal will be coming through soon. Where can Lastro go? Only into the loving arms of Babel. It's going to be giving over plenty of those healing Afuda. Alas, you turn around for 1 second and Bembest is in your back line. And he's claimed everything. All the bananas, all the peanut butter. I don't know what else gorillas eat, but Bembest has certainly claimed it.
Oh my goodness. I mean, the stomps coming through here as well. Bembest is just able to land and flatten a couple of members of the Gladiators. And I think that it's ultimately really impressive that Justice were able to keep that defense up there with just the nano boost. So looking at the Primal Rage still being able to be used here as a defensive tool. And of course, you have the 2 DPS ultimates from the Justice. But Gladiators, can they clap back? Can they get into this point? Kitsune Rush getting laid down first.
Terry back in his special little window. Might well be zoned away here as Flora sends out the Dragon Strike. Seems like there's going to be no victims in this one. A quickly popped Primal Rage is going to be answered by a Nano Boost. Double fan the hammer as Kevster puts 12 bullets from the 6-shooter into the Raging Monkey. And now Yaki quick with the cleanup. And what? Oh, what a stick! Still, I believe, Suzu'd by Babel. Quick thinking from the support line to keep Lastro safe, but now there's nothing to cleanse the ante. Still no one there to follow it up. Alpha Yi opts into the Tracer door, but there's so much more support here for the purple Tracer. And there's the recall given over. Now it's down to Dante to maybe try and claim this space. Someone needs to move in and touch. Seems like Bembest is first up to the docket. Flora runs away from the encroaching gorilla. And Teru has to decide what the choice is with an Nano Boost. Deep into the back line, a conflux of damage will tear apart Lastro as King's Row seems to stand firm before the assault of the Gladiators. That's going to be the sticky coming on through. And you know what that means for Alpha Yi. Absolute freedom. It's the land of the free, the home of the brave for the Korean import. Yaki's gone low, and we're down to 20 seconds.
That fight took so long. Like, the Gladiators are only going to have such a short while to be able to get something done. The Justice holding on for long enough that Bembest was able to come back and get the touch right before the Gladiators captured that entirety of that point. Yaki's still looking for a pulse bomb target here. Otherwise, Justice are going to take this map.
Yaki needs to path on. Manage maybe to find Flora. Someone's on the point. No! That pulse bomb is no good at all! Recalling up straight in front of Flora, but now there's no means of escape. Has to move on down to keep dancing around this cart and trying to dislodge Bembest. A beautiful boof as well from FD God. There will be no touches here, but who dares to put their foot upon this point? There's going to be a lovely sleep coming through from Teru. Your nano doesn't matter to me, but Babel moves on in, cleanses the incoming sleep, and finally the Los Angeles Gladiators will manage with a hodgepodge of ultimates and a messy fight to claim point A.
What a Hail Mary there from Flora to send the Dragon Strike onto point. Unfortunately, Gladiators were just too close to the cap there, but it did allow the Washington Justice to try to get away. Bembest is still not able to get away with his life, and the Gladiators are going to try to chase down as many picks as possible. But the fact that they even got the payload moving here, that was getting a little bit too close to the wire there for my comfort, Leg Day.
Oh yeah, that was getting real hairy, Necra. Let's see what Babel is taking a couple of his ego doors, and now without the Suzu, the TP distance isn't actually that far, so they call the dive onto the Kiriko. And now, moving on in, just force them into the pulse on. Hey, check out that behind you. Look behind you, it's full pantomime here on King's Row. How apt for a British battleground.
That felt like such a risky use of that Kitsune Rush there from Babel. I feel like the thought process was there, maybe lay down the Kitsune Rush, and even if Babel goes down, then the rest of the team might be able to follow up and utilize that to be able to take out the Justice and keep that attack push going. But unfortunately, there just wasn't enough healing when Babel got taken off the board. So we're gonna have to see a little bit of a comeback here. Gladiators still have a few tools to work with. Dante's Primal Rage Burst.
Spicy. From Bembest, still ducking away here. Ooh, I'm not sure what happened right there. Actually gets flicked back into Kevster's range by a nicely placed slap from Dante. Little bit of a Winston coordination diff as Yaki hunts down these supports. Oh, he's too scared of Flora. He knows exactly what his former brother-in-arms can do, but it's an Uno reverse. It was me the whole time. Alas, in the end, there's no support, so Yaki will fall, and the cart will trudge on.
Oh my goodness. It's even more fitting now that it's going to be Yaki on the Tracer and Flora, or it was Yaki on the Genji for a little bit there, Flora on the Hanzo. But hey, you know, Alpha Yi now getting a chance to strike back here with the Tracer. And I think this pulse bomb might end up being good here. Alfie's being able to land a lot of them, especially onto the back line. Oh, Babel gets so low.
Paulson was imperative, and now only the nanos left. It's on to Dante, yes, but there are no friends here. FT God's going big. The French monster tears through all who would approach. I am gargantuan. I am Goliath, and I demand a map number 3.
I think they have demanded it, and they have received. What a phenomenal performance there by the Justice, able to capture 3 points. Their defense was good. They almost clutched it out on that first point as well to be able to deny Gladiators from getting even to the second point. Like they woke up here. Maybe the closeness there on Antarctic Peninsula, maybe a little bit of a fluke.
And maybe the key has been found to the double flex support here. Because while Babel and Lastro are fantastic at these flex support heroes, Lastro died 16 times in that map. Somehow the pathing is good. I don't know if it's down to Alpha E setups or Benbest being able to get out the resources early, but Lastro is being consistently caught and Babel is unable to peel those away effectively. So maybe we see Gladiators trying to over-adjust to this, bring Funny Astro back in to play a little bit more of that rush mirror maybe over on push. It's anybody's game to play with, and well, of course, Gladiators are going to get to pick our push map after this break.
Funny Lastro. That is the delayed tactics widely dealt in a 4v5. Oh, not quite so much anymore. Kevster dishing out the damage.
This is giving me vibes of Florida against the Atlanta Rain. What? That is dirty. A rough return here, just kind of getting bullied. That is it.
Wave hello, maybe goodbye to the rest of your team, Decay, because Lastro's on the field. Nano Zen just to keep him alive. Rolling, trying to keep everybody alive. And Hydron, oh boy, punched into oncoming traffic. Dante shuts him down.
Oh, look at the little precious papa. Oh, it's Archer. I am a huge fan of the little poppers. Oh, I'm such a happy guy. I'm also a huge fan of Flora. Let's have a quick look at a stat card from the big brother coming out of New York Excelsior over to the Washington Justice. Here's the Hanzo stats this match. Hero damage, 14.4k, which, Rose, for those of you mathing along at home, is a lot.
Yeah, that does check out. I mean, that's more than I can count on my two hands, so I feel like that definitely checks out there. I mean, when you take a look at the final blows, the number of eliminations, that adds up to Flora really putting in so much lifting for that team. And overall, I feel like that did show up in a big way as Washington Justice able to get that win on that second map and bring us into a third.
Well, when it comes to showing up, we've got some new players showing up on the roster. Mira going to be making an appearance here. Subbing up Ben Best, who's been doing very well thus far. But Mira, this must be some sort of secret sauce, Rose.
Secret sauce, or maybe just Antarctic Peninsula not necessarily going the way that Washington Justice would have hoped for. Despite that performance from Ben Best, that map was just a little too close for comfort and ultimately resulted in a loss for the Justice. So maybe this is going to be Justice's way of trying to get ahead of the game a little bit and say maybe Mirror is going to be able to put in just a little bit more of the maybe the secret spice or sauce or whatever is what you want to call it for the push map. But we're seeing a lot of subs here on the Gladiators as well.
Yes, Daniel Hathaway has returned to bring in his unique brand of mechanically perfect Lucio, and Kai has returned as well to play the hit scan monster. And makes sense here. Funny Astro on the Lucio. Like, you really like the Lucio on push. You want to get as many fights in as possible, considering that the Timmy the push bot does move at a considerable pace, and if you can move back to contest that earlier, you have more fights to try and win and more ability to try and troll the enemy's progress on that barricade.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that, like, with the swaps that came through for the Gladiators, just to be able to go back to their original starting lineup, that makes me think even more that Mir really is there to counterpick a little bit. Looking at his hero pool, and especially when we're going to Esperanza as our next map, I mean, Push already brings in a specific layer of difficulties when it comes to playing on this particular game mode, but it plays very similarly in terms of the way that the brawls or fights would end up playing out. So Mirror might just be the better option here, or at least Washington trying something a little new.
Citizens of Overwatch, turn off the kettle. Turn off the smartphone and buckle up, because only one of these teams gets to advance through to our bracket play, and it all will come down to this map. One push map to rule them all, Esperanza, between Justice and Gladiators. This has been a flip-floppy series, Rose. It's been flip-flopping more than my pronunciation of Babel.
We're gonna ignore how many times different ways you've said Babel in this matchup here, but we aren't going to ignore the fact that Esperanza is underway as we see both of our teams exit out of the spawn doors, and we are going to see the Ramatra here from Dante and the Winston from Mirror. So maybe just a little bit more faith that Mirror can play a bit more of an aggressive Winston here to contest with Dante's Ramatra.
I wouldn't be surprised even to see Mira have a reactionary swap back over onto the Ramatra as well. We know he's a pretty good player at that. This is a big dive coming through from Mira. Sliding off the awning means the dive damage can be a little bit delayed. However, in the end, die, Funny Astro, screams out for years. He just rips into the back line, and now Mira's looking to clean this one up into the patisserie, but all you find is a bagel full of pain here, as Kai might well be able to take a nice duel here, and indeed Dante just picks up 3 in the back. Oh my goodness, the protagonist of Overwatch League has finished his Act 2 training arc, and now it's time for the Act 3 comeback.
Yeah, he's a nemesis now. I mean, holy moly. Dante has been putting in so much work as a tank player, and to be able to see just how much versatility and flexibility he has in his hero pool now is really awesome. And especially when, you know, you're going to get a chance to punch a bunch of people. You're taking some of the best pieces of Doomfist kit, adding them into Ramatra as a hero, and there's some magic that's going to happen here, especially as we see maybe a potential opportunity here for Kevster to try to land a Pulse Bomb, as we're under the bridge now. Like, we are getting very close to that checkpoint.
Dante stuck by a Pulse Bomb, courtesy of Alpha E, but now it's Kevster's turn to try an Uno reverse here. Everyone's packed up so tightly in the Ravenous Vortex, trying to drag them in towards that particular fight. Alas, Kai now going to be the answer for the Nano. Still not a huge amount of damage being able to be done. Why are you picking that, Flora? You know better than this, my son. And Kai is the one to be the teacher. Let me show you how it's done. Mira doesn't want to peek this either. Surely no one's going to continue peeking Kevster when he's on a tear over here. Dante's already bought himself an annihilation. It's going to be answered at, yes, by the sound barrier. And the wake up coming just in time for the annihilation to have been timed out. Washington Justice in a little bit of control at the moment, but it's by no means guaranteed. Dante needs to fall in order for this space to be claimed. And now perhaps you move down onto Kai, getting rid of the big old threat and making sure that he will trouble you no more.
That was a really good take there by the Justice. You're going to get back control of this bot as they start to match the progress that the Gladiators have made. These fights are always so scrappy here on Esperanza. When you're looking at this first point, it's always those bridges and all those little hidey holes that I feel like make these fights even harder. For the Ramatra specifically coming back into the defense here, I feel like a lot of onus is on Mirror to try to get this fight started, but Dante strikes first.
I don't know what mishap occurred, but Alpha E got punched to death by a robot so much slower than the Tracer. Teru grabbed by the Ravenous Vortex, but FT God's there with the speed to make sure the Ana is extricated from danger. Nemesis form for a little bit of extra armor as Dante backs on off and resets the boundaries for this fight. The Dragon Strike moving through, yet to actually claim any lives, and it does clear the high ground, but little more than that. Still, Flora claims revenge, a headshot to Kai. I said you can't have the high ground, and I meant it, by God. Barbell also falling over to Mira. Funny Astro desperately playing for his life. And now wants of a Hanzo, not the most reliable perhaps, but does give a touch more staying power and a touch more finishing power to get rid of Dante too. And once again, Justice have a chance to reclaim that lead.
It looks like they're going to as well. I mean, the push bot's going to be moving way faster towards that barricade now. And the Gladiators are just going to be coming out of spawn by the time that we end up seeing the rest of the backline come through. Yeah, should be able to get the lead here, but we might see a quick strike here from Kevster to try to deny that. Doesn't look like we're going to.
Alfie has to be careful once more. I love that Washington Justice played that for the lead. Then they're going to back off to a better position. They're forcing Dante to take so much damage, actually makes this engagement. And that's an attempt at a sleep, certainly one of the sleeps of all time, and this is one of the Nanos too. Maybe a touch more aggressive though. FD God gets stuck. Fan the hammer. Yeah, I'm a fan of hammers too, says Kai, but I am playing no Reinhardt. I'm the cowboy myself. Cassidy. How do you feel about Cassidy's right clicks?
I was not expecting you to go in that direction, but I feel pretty good. I think about Cassidy's right clicks right now, as Dante's going to get another nice pick there onto Alfie. Poor Kai, just waiting like, am I going to get some healing over here? Hello, like, give me some of that good stuff over there. But it looks like we are going to be approaching this checkpoint, and what a nicely timed cooldown from Dante to be able to keep Washington Justice from denying that first point capture. Gladiators are happy with this right now. We're approaching the halfway point here of this push map, and so Gladiators can really just try to play to keep control. Like, we might not actually go much farther than this first point here. Gladiators can just hold the high ground.
You could have been more right, Rose, and you were exactly right to highlight the Ravenous Vortex as well. Actually stopped Mirror from being able to hit a jump as well. Floor is a little bit close here, especially considering there's a Lucio around. This was a foolhardy peek if ever I saw one. Mirror is slept elsewhere. Oh, good morning. Bye-bye. Mirror executed there. That Deadeye unfortunately had a worse end for Mirror than the 1930s.
Oh my goodness. I mean, at this point, I feel like the Gladiators are going to try to push up onto the Justice as fast as possible. Especially when Dante has the Annihilation. Dante can play a little bit more aggressive here. But I love the patience that the Gladiators are showing. They really want to make sure that they're not overextending into the territory of the Justice, leaving the backline vulnerable. There's too many good dive targets here for the Justice to try to focus on. Not gonna be today, though.
Teru trades it out, though, by Kevster. Dante gets 4 as well. This is messy from Washington Justice. They did not dot their I's. They did not cross their T's. And now Kevster's going to make them pay. A well-placed Pulstorm gets rid of Mirror. Kevster thinks he can do it all. It could even be an ace if I'm calculating correctly. And it's going to be a quick claim of the bot as well to get that forward spawn back in action. And even more given. That was a 3 versus 5. A monumental fumble.
Yeah, that was rough there. I mean, the Justice get a chance to come back. Kevster just trying to sneak in a little bit more meterage there, but ultimately does back up to wait for Dante to take his rightful place at the front. Funny Astro, though, is going to give a lot of confidence here to the Gladiators to move in.
Now there's no sleep, though, to deal with the Annihilation, and that could cause trouble. Dante moving in. The Nemesis form, yes, it's over, but still has this in the back pocket. Kai's taking out the counterpart in Flora. The legendary hit scan coming on through as Dante has to decide, do I wish to pummel against those who would pummel me? The Primal Rage versus Primal Pummels as Dante is cooked into the side. And finally, Washington Justice will once again regain control.
Looks like we are going to see a little bit of a comeback here, and just in the nick of time, like day, it's 2.5 minutes approaching on this clock as we start to look at that halfway point. Washington Justice are going to at least shut off those forward spawns here of the Gladiators. The push bot moves past halfway, but Alpha Yi now with the pulse bomb, the huge stick, not quite enough to be able to get the kills.
It's a big roll to keep it going. Make sure that damage reduction came on through. Good presence of mind from Kai to keep the survival moving. Now Kai, a commanding position. Los Angeles Gladiators don't even need to push here. They can just control the high ground with this Deadeye, knowing they are near inassailable. Dante simply pokes away and makes sure that Washington Justice are not feeling comfortable.
They're not. They're definitely not feeling comfortable at the moment. I mean, we gotta wait for some cooldowns to come back online. Mir looking for the perfect opportunity to jump, but he also needs to wait for Alpha Yi to get into a position here with the Tracer in order to shut down one of these high-value targets. It might be the Cassidy here, but Kai goes for the Deadeye.
Mans was sticking ghosts over there, but maybe he's going to be shooting them too. Kevster moving on in to try and deal with Mirror. The Nano rebuffed by the Annihilation up to the sky. It's Kai once again, the electric cowboy. The right clicks may be moving through. The pulse bomb's moving faster. And now the tempo tank. Truly the tempo has been found. A crescendo for the Los Angeles Gladiators. And yes, Barbell has fallen. But maybe it's too little too late. Flora will try his best to fight for the bridge, but I'm afraid it's too far gone. A sleep comes through from Teru, and Dante can't pick a target out for you with a double in the back. The pulse bomb grabs two. Maybe Kai mistimed the roll this time and simply said, hey, Funny Astro, you got a diffuser for me, bro?
Yeah, I mean, Dante as well, just getting stuck into such a difficult position. We actually get a chance to see the replay here as the pulse bomb ends up getting stuck there onto Kai. Just walks right into Funny Astro there. Unfortunately, not able to get away. But the Gladiators, they really aren't too pressed about this at the moment. They get a chance to come back in and defend before this push bot makes its way to the checkpoint here of the Justice.
The bracket stage beckons. It's anybody's game. Kai gets two in the back, and you know what? Kevster says that's enough. You did just fine, son. It's my turn. Alpha Yi and Mirror cannot do enough. And you know what? At this point, maybe Los Angeles Gladiators would be well served by just not pushing this bot away and allowing Washington Justice to overextend to try and make this work. Flora swaps to the Sombra.
Yep, this looks like it's going to be a panic pick here from the Justice to try to get something done. Wants to shut down either Bobel or Kai in the backline, maybe even trying to make Kevster a little bit easier to pick off here. But we're going to have to see some type of hack come through in Justice while they have control of the bot now. This is the time, Leg Day. They've got to clutch up or shut up.
There's a world here where maybe Flora can hack Funny Astro out of the beat if FT God forces it first. FT God so low off the back of a well-placed anti. Already Mirror's incredibly low and Alfie has to stand in the way. Yes, there is the sound barrier, but not too much can be gained off the back of it. The healing's not there. Mirror's only played Winston this entire time. Where is Benbest? France will scream. And where is the Deadeye? It's right up against Alpha Yi. Yes, there's enough damage to deal with this, but the annihilation will simply be too much, surely. There's no one on the cart, and Washington Justice, it's an absolute miscarriage of justice, as Gladiators will claim the crown of the arena.
And they're also going to claim that spot in the finals bracket. What a close match, though, through and through. Leg day, I feel like it came down to the wire in that push map, and also the fact that we went to 3 rounds as well earlier on at Antarctic Peninsula. We were in for such a good treat, and it makes me so excited, not only for the finals bracket of the Pro-Am, but also what's in store for us for the regular season of the Overwatch League.
Oh yeah, the bracket play is going to be bloody spicy, and Gladiators have now signed their ticket to that. I think we already know who they're going to be going up against, but do not trust a caster to do bracket math live, because they will simply lie to you. I will spread misinformation on the internet. However, we have our player of the match to announce, Rose, and it is going to be the one and only legendary Kevster, Kevin Person, the most AI-generated name that I have ever seen. But this guy, he is more than a person. He is a god.
Yeah, I mean, look at some of these absolute god picks that we ended up seeing. Kevster has been showing up in such big ways over the course of all of the matches for the Gladiators in the Pro-Am. But I feel like today as well, when it really mattered most, Kevster was able to kind of kick it up a notch, and it was a very big defining factor in that why we ended up seeing Gladiators actually take that 3rd and final round there on Antarctic Peninsula, as well as being able to take this map of Esperanza to take the match itself. And how can you argue with what you're seeing in front of you there? Barely died. Barely ever died.
1 death per 10? I mean, we're seeing the stats, but Washington Justice simply didn't see this guy. It was John Cenaing. They just could not perceive Kevin Person in the backline. Final blows, 9.2 per 10. Absolutely beautiful, but 1 death per 10 minutes, as Tracer admittedly died a lot on Hanzo, on King's Row. Yaki was taking over Tracer duties there, but when Kevster was allowed to play what he's best at, the old hypermobile time demon, that's when he was able to dominate the lobby.
Oh, so true. I mean, you look across the board here, I feel like Kevster, not only with just his raw mechanical skill, but also because of that stellar backline, Gladiators really are set up for success here. And while this might have also been a loss for the Washington Justice, I see bright things in their future as well.
Yeah, I see bright things in their future, and I see bright spots of analysis on our desk. It's going to be coming your way after this break.
Welcome back to our game break. Excuse me, we just
What?
the guys just had a very interesting conversation about who would win a fight between Danny and Matt. And Matt came in with a lot of confidence, which I don't know where he's getting it from. But yeah, if you want to pick a winner for that one, hit us up on social.
Danny's seen my high kick before.
It's more like a
about
big
yay
kick.
high.
It goes very low. It goes like here.
Mid to high.
Yeah.
Depends on perspective here too, right? If you're
True.
on the shorter side of the spectrum like I am, then yeah, that's like a mid kick for sure. Either way,
You know
I
what
can't
was a
think of a
mid-kick?
really...
You got this. You got
Nah,
this.
no,
Zoe.
it's not. That's not the transition I want. I want to talk about the match we just saw, because that one came in hot. That was a great match, a lot closer than we probably would have expected. But honestly, Washington Justice, they brought the heat, they brought the spice, they brought everything, and it was nice. Gladiators really started sweating going up against the Washington Justice. And I just have one single question, so I'm starting in the back here, even though we're looking at the first map. Why in the universe would they take out Ben Best, who has been such a key player for them in the first two maps to actually, you know, edge ahead?
Yeah, I think that's a big one.
So,
Yeah,
like,
That's a question.
I can get it if you're bringing in Mirror to play something that's not Winston. Like,
Alas, he played the
you know,
Winston,
right?
so-
Spoilers, he did play Winston. Where, look, if you wanted to get him some run on Winston and maybe like push or something like that, I don't know if it's like game mode specific, but you had a few other games, you know, that you probably would have won as well if you just put him in. I feel like it puts the player in like a non-winnable situation. It can't be fun to come in on the final map.
Yeah.
You know, with a like game tournament defining series.
Yeah, this is not the
Don't get it.
place to experiment. So we do have a lot of questions, of course. Yeah, as you said, there might be like a map-specific thing they planned ahead for or whatever. And obviously, we don't want to like just put it all on Mirror's back. And like, this is not
that's the
just
part that
Mirror's
stinks,
loss,
right? Because like fans fans jump to things, and they will when like Mirror actually played quite well. They're
Yeah.
not any of the reason that they lost.
I mean,
It did leave us wondering.
Yeah, I
That's
mean,
for sure.
Washington Justice, they did get the win, but I'm actually super excited to see them in the regular season. I think they had really good moments throughout the whole Pro-Am, and, you know, we're seeing that, like, they're trying things out with Mirror coming in and stuff. Sure, it didn't work, but, you know, it's a different look for them, so we know that they're cooking up something, so that gets me excited for the regular season.
Bringing stuff like Mirror on the Doomfist or like Ramatra or something like that, right? You know, he'd probably be awesome in those like roles. And his Winston actually, you know, for not a Winston player was pretty good. It's just maybe not. Maybe not at the end of a series.
Yeah, maybe not right then and there when Ben Best has been doing a really phenomenal job. I mean, honestly, I think his coordination together with Alpha Yi and also FD got like just the whole crew, like they were so coordinated in their aggressive pushes and their aggressive dives. I was very impressed. Let's actually take a quick look at the stat card here because we love numbers, and so do you. That's right.
Yeah.
Just gonna. There we go. Lastro, definitely a player which much impressed. He put on so much pressure onto the opponents.
And this is on Ana. You know, Hanzo is a fantastic hero, and I'm sure Lastro would be a great Hanzo player, but
He will make it great.
Hanzo cannot heal or sleep. So, but we know Lastro is like a fantastic support player, right? You're going from like Shu to Lastro, which like Shu obviously we know how fantastic he is, but like Lastro's very strong. Been on a few teams now in the Overwatch League over the last few years where you look for him to be a pretty nice bright spot here for the Glads.
Yeah, he's one of those players who's he's not flashy, you know, like some other of our Arana players, but he definitely gets the job done and then some. He's been a really, really key performer for that team. And now we do actually have an interview ready with him, so Danny, please take it away.
Thank you so much, Zoe. And we have Lastro for the post-match interview. Lastro, hello. 들리시나요?
네, 들려요. 안녕하세요.
All right, Lastro says hello. Let's jump right into the interview. So, I mean, this match was an important match for you guys, Los Angeles Gladiators, and with this win, you guys are moving up as a second seed in the group stage. What was your game plan coming into this match against the Washington Justice? 자, 이번 경기가 생각보다 굉장히 중요한 경기였죠. 아무래도 이긴 팀이 이제 다음 스테이지로 넘어가기 때문에 오늘 워싱턴 팀과의 경기 좀 어떻게 준비를 하셨나요?
솔직히 2세트 저희가 그냥 쉽게 이길 줄 알았는데 계속 재우고 열심히 해봤는데도 계속 저가 죽더라고요. 그래서 좀 내정지가 심하게 왔는데 그래도 저희 팀이 이겨줘서 참 고맙네요.
Alright, I honestly expected this to be an easy win for our team, for Los Angeles Gladiators. I tried my best. I pumped out heals. I slept a lot of enemies, but I still kept dying. So you know, I really want to thank all my teammates for getting the win for me. I think you did a fantastic job. Was there like a specific play that you weren't? Specific, I guess, time in the series that you weren't really happy with your play. 방금 이렇게 잘도 어떻게 이렇게 뭐라고 그러지? 그러니까 힐러로서 아나로서 굉장히 열심히 했다고 하셨는데 좀 특정하게 내가 여기선 좀 못했다라는 좀 그런 부분이 있었나요? 게임 경기 도중에?
솔직히 저는 스크림대로 똑같이 힐밴 던지고 재웠는데 이 게임이 진짜 힘들더라고요. 그래서 아마도 이거 인터뷰 끝나고 다시 한번 영상을 볼 예정입니다. 솔직히 왜인지 모르겠어요. 저는.
Okay. All right. So Lastro actually says, you know, personally, I think I tried my best and I played how I played in the scrims, but it was honestly a lot more difficult for me, and that's how I personally felt. So I do definitely want to, after this interview is done, I do want to go back to the VODs and sort of take a look at what went wrong, because as of right now, I can't really pinpoint why the match was so difficult. All right, let's move on to our final question. Of course, you guys, with this win, you guys are going to go up against Atlanta Reign, who is honestly one of the more scarier teams. How confident are you, Lastro, for that matchup? 자, 마지막 질문입니다. 이제 오늘 승리로 인해서 이제 다음 경기가 다름 아닌 아틀란타 팀과의 경기가 있는데, 지금 프로그램에서 굉장히 어떻게 보면 좀 무서운 팀들 중에 하나로 이제 얘기가 많이 되고 있습니다. 라스트로 선수가 보셨을 때 그 경기 좀 얼마나 어떻게 좀 쉽게 이길 수 있을 것 같으신가요? 아니면 어떠실 것 같으신가요?
애틀란타 같은 경우는 킬러랑 립 선수가 너무 잘하기 때문에 좀 힘들긴 하겠지만 최선을 다해서 이기겠습니다.
네, 립 선수랑 누구라고 그랬죠? 누가 잘하는 선수라고?
힐러들이요, 힐러들.
힐러들. 오케이, 알겠습니다. I think definitely Atlanta Reign is a scary team because, you know, they got great players. Lip and their backline is just super strong. But I am definitely going to try my best against that matchup. All right, Lastro, that is it for the interview. Congratulations on the win and thank you so much for the interview. 자, 오늘 인터뷰 감사드리면서 보내드리도록 하겠습니다. 라스트로 선수 감사드립니다.
감사합니다. 바이바이.
바이바이.
Yeah, my man Lastro is chilling. He's
just like
chilling. He's like down here. Yeah.
He's like, hello, everyone.
He's hanging.
Big Lastro energy.
That was. That just leaves a lot of room for improvement, you know. Yeah. Moving on.
Okay.
But yeah, we heard it here from Lastro. Not quite sure why it was so close. I can tell you why. Because Washington Justice are a lot better than a lot of people would expect.
Yeah.
And rightfully so. I think they really brought it. So as we already concluded and said many times, we're very excited to see more of that team come a regular season. Now it is time to look ahead once again at our upcoming matches. We have one more for you today, and that one is going to go down between the Toronto Defiant and Redbird Esports. And according to our producers, things are already pretty fun in the lobby. Those two teams are coming at each other, flaming each other. They're bringing
having some friendly words with each other.
Yeah, they're bringing a banter that we're really looking forward to.
We love banter.
This is what I expected, though. I expect this one to be loosey-goosey. All these
even more than the
highlights
Houston
you're
one?
watching, I think so.
You
I
think
think
so?
this one has, you know, the Houston one, it was like, it was on the rails for, you know, 5 minutes. I think this one comes out and just goes completely off the rails right away. I think this one's got wild
I don't know.
potential.
I think this is gonna go more serious because, you know, this is Redbird Esports' last game, my final game, and they are 0-3. So I think they're gonna want to, you know, just really try to prove to everyone that, you know, they are a great team, and they are. Like Giggs, Winston was really good. Vision, of course, is one of the standout players, and I expect, you know, of course, it is going to be a tough battle for Redbird Esports, but, you know, I want to see more from them. This is